Hello, welcome back to Chapter 9, Section 9, where I'm doing problems 8 through 13 in the guided practice problems at the end of the section, just like the problems you're going to be seeing on your homework. Alright, so for these problems, we're going to have to estimate the solution because we're going to end up with discriminants that are not perfect squares. And when I take the square root of them, I'm going to end up with decimals. Alright, so let's get started with this one. This is already in standard form, even though it doesn't look like it. So my A is going to be 2. My B, I don't see an X term here, so that means B is going to be 0. And my C is going to be negative 6. So, and I forgot to do this. This is my quadratic formula. I'll write it at the top again. B to the second power. Whoops, sorry, I was getting ahead of myself. Whoops. The opposite of B, plus or minus B to the second power minus 4AC. I was already one step ahead, over 2A. Okay. So I want B to the second power subtract 4AC. My B is 0, so I get 0 squared. That's easy. My A is 2, and my C is negative 6. So I get 0, negative 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times negative 6 is negative 48. And 0 subtract negative 48 just becomes 0 plus 48, which is 48. For my quadratic formula, I get the opposite of B, which is the opposite of 0, plus or minus the square root of 48 divided by 2 times 2. The opposite of 0 is just 0. 0 is its own opposite. And 0 plus the square root of 48 is just going to be 48. 0 minus the square root of 48 is just going to be square root of 48. Sorry, I meant to say square root of 48. So this is what I have to put in my calculator. I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to do first the positive. So this is square root of 48. Hit enter. And I'm going to divide that by 4. Now, positive divided by a positive is a positive. So my first estimation, I'm going to go to one decimal place, 1.7. It's actually 1.732 if I went further. Actually, I'm sorry, I should be more correct. It actually is a decimal that goes forever. There's no way we can ever calculate it. But we'll just go to one decimal place. Now the other one is going to be negative square root of 48 divided by 4. Well, I don't need to do that on the calculator again. I just know a negative divided by a positive is a negative. So the other one is negative 1.7. That's going to be different when I don't have 0 in the front. Alright, let's move this up a little bit. So this one's in standard form. I get A equals 1, B equals 6, and C equals 3. B squared is 6 squared. Subtract 4 times 1 times 3. I have to find a good marker before I make my next bunch of videos. I'm going to have to make a run to Target, I suppose. 36 subtract 4 times 1 times 3 is 12, and 36 subtract 12 equals 24. So my quadratic formula is the opposite of B, which is the opposite of 6, plus or minus the square root of 24 divided by 2 times 1. This is negative 6 plus or minus square root of 24 divided by 2. So again, we're going to come over to our calculator here, and I'm going to do negative 6 plus square root of 24. Now, if you're using this calculator, the negative sign, most calculators use the subtract sign as the negative sign also. I don't know. But I have to hit negative 6 plus square root of 48. Excuse me, I had 48 in the brain. That was the last one. 24. Hit enter. I get negative 1.1. Now I'm going to divide that by 2. And I'll go to 2 decimal places just because of the way it looks. Negative 0.55. And whether you go to 1 decimal place or 2 decimal place depends on the directions. These didn't have any directions with them, so I'm kind of picking and choosing. The other is going to be negative 6 subtract square root of 24. So negative 6 subtract square root of 24. And then I'm going to divide that by 2. And my other solution is going to be x is approximately equal to negative 5.45. I know it says 44, but the 9 makes it go round up. All right. As always, pause and rewind them if you need to see these things again. I might pick up the speed just a little bit. Standard form, so a equals 1, b equals negative 7, and c equals positive 2. B squared is negative 7 squared. Subtract 4 times a times c, which is 1 times 2. Negative 7 squared is positive 49. 4 times 1 times 2 is 8. 49 subtract 8 equals 41. Quadratic formula. I find the opposite of negative 7. Then I add plus or minus the square root of this number, 41. And I divide by 2 times 1. The opposite of negative 7 is positive 7. The square root of 41 I'm going to do on my calculator. 2 times 1 is 2. So 7 plus square root of 41, 13.4 and a little bit extra. Divide that by 2, and I got 6.7. X is approximately equal to 6.7. The other one's going to be 7 subtract square root of 41. And I'll divide that by 2. And x is approximately equal to about 0.3. Both of these are going to be irrational, so they have decimals that go forever. So we're just going to give an estimation. For number 11, I need to move these two terms over to the other side. So I get 3x squared plus x subtract 5 equals 0. And my a is going to be 3, my b is going to be 1, and my c is going to be negative 5. For my discriminant, I get 1 squared subtract 4 times a, which is 3, times c, which is negative 5. This is 1 subtract 12 times negative 5, which is negative 60. And 1 subtract negative 60 gives me 1 plus 60, or 61. My quadratic formula, I'm going to find the opposite of b, which is 1, plus or minus the square root of that number, 61, and divide by 2 times a, which is 2 times 3. The opposite of 1 is negative 1. I'm going to figure square root of 61 on my calculator, and 2 times 3 equals 6. So, make sure I'm in screen here. Sorry, I wasn't. Negative 1 plus square root of 61 equals 6.8 and a little bit more. And I'm going to divide that by 6. So my first solution, x is approximately equal to, that's where the wavy equal sign comes from, 1.1, we'll say 1.14, because the 5 makes the 3 go up. If you write 1.135, Just whatever the directions say, that tells you what to round off to. And the other one is going to be -1 subtract square root of 61. I'm going to divide that by 6. So that's going to be about -1.47. All right, we'll do the last two in this section. Line my paper up a little bit. Nice, both of these are in standard form, so I don't have to worry about that. A equals 1, B is going to be -4, and C is going to be -7. 1, -4, -7. I'm going to go to target today. So I get -4 squared, subtract 4 times 1 times -7. This is 16, subtract -28, which becomes 16 plus 28, and I believe I get 44. Now my quadratic formula, I find the opposite of -4, which is the opposite of b, plus or minus the square root of that number I just found, 44, divided by 2 times a, which is 2 times 1. The opposite of -4 is +4. Like I've been saying, I'll find the square root of 44 on my calculator, and 2 times 1 equals 2. Actually, I think I kind of misled you, because I'm not going to actually find the square root of 44. I'm going to do 4 plus the square root of 44, which is just, I'm not going to show the, forget it, doesn't matter. 4 plus the square root of 44, it's going to be about 10.63, and I'm going to divide that by 2. So x is going to first be approximately 5.3. For the other one, 4 subtract square root of 44, and I'll divide that by 2, and my other one's going to be -1.3. And if you want a more accurate answer, you can see it goes to more decimal places. Alright, finally, problem number 13 in this section. It's in standard form, so my A is going to be 2, my B is going to be 1, and my C is going to be -5. B squared is going to be 1 squared, A is 2, and C is -5. This is 1 subtract -40, which becomes 1 plus 40, also known as 41. I get x equals the opposite of b, which is the opposite of 1, plus or minus the square root of 41, divided by 2 times a, which is 2 times 2. The opposite of 1 is -1. We'll put this in the calculator, and 2 times 2 equals 4. So let's do -1 plus the square root of 41. It's about 5.4. I'm going to divide that by 4. So x is first going to be approximately equal to, we'll say 1.35. And the other one is going to be -1 subtract square root of 41. Divide that by 4. And I get x is approximately equal to -1.85. Alright, make sure you have a calculator for that one. And like I said in the previous video, if you're using the calculator on your phone, iPhone or Galaxy or whatever you have, just make sure you know how it shows square roots. Alright, we'll see you in the next video.